Back in the middle of the 1900s, a small peninsula just south of China called the Korean Peninsula was divided into two portions, a north and a south portion of Korea. And they began fighting in the middle of the Cold War in what we call the Korean War. The US intervened on behalf of the South Koreans, Russia and then later China, more critically China, intervened on behalf of the North Koreans, and it really ended in a stalemate in what we call an armistice. An armistice means that violence and war has largely stopped occurring, but there's no peace. Since the Korean War, North and South Korea have not agreed to peace, until potentially in 2018. Now, maybe you've seen the highlights from last week or over the weekend, but the leader of North Korea met with the leader of South Korea on the border, what they call the demilitarized zone. And they talked to each other, they hugged, oddly enough, in kind of a weird man hug, and they agreed to announce an end to the war between the Koreas. Now that's a big deal. It makes the world a lot safer. It brings North Korea perhaps one step closer to the rest of humanity. But one of the interesting developments here, in addition to the fact that the Koreas are now seemingly going to end their hostilities with one another, is the fact that North Korea has opened up to South Korea about potentially denuclearizing in exchange from the rest of the world, but primarily the United States, never to invade them. Now, that's a big deal, and I don't want to downplay that, because anytime we're engaging with North Korea, I think it's a positive thing. I'm a big pro-engagement type guy. Anytime North Korea wants to put down denuclearization on the table, that's a good thing, because they're not the most stable regime. So anytime you can take terrifying weapons out of the hands of really dangerous people, I think it's a good thing. But keep in mind that this is not the first time this has happened. North Korea, over the decades, has made several offers to denuclearize. They've made several offers to join the world stage. They've made several offers to start acting like more of a normal country. And this time around, it's very possible that this is just more of the same. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't greet their announcements and the news from North and South Korea with optimism. We should greet it as a good thing that they are willing to have these talks. But we should be very hesitant and hedge our bets that this is just something they're doing to run out the clock of the rest of the Trump administration. Now, it does beg the question, how critical is our current controversial president, President Trump, who's been maybe flirting with nuclear war with North Korea by tweeting real mean insults at them as they tweet real mean stuff back? How critical is Trump in this whole thing? Well, the president of South Korea themselves says that Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for this process. I don't know if I'd go that far, but, they know more than I do. I think one of the real game changers of this particular president is that he turns out to be just as unpredictable in his behavior as North Korea is in theirs. North Korea always gets to operate with the vantage point of, we can act immature and petulant and the world will just step away and say, hey, easy there, crazy person. And North Korea gets to basically continue doing whatever they want within their own country. But with our current president, President Trump, it's really the first time that North Korea is trash-talking the rest of the world, including the United States, and all of a sudden somebody from the United States, our president, starts trash-talking back. And one thing I think that did, whether Trump intended to do it or not, I just don't think Trump likes being insulted, but whether Trump had a strategic goal or not, is he exposed North Korea's rhetoric as just hollow, immature ramblings of a country that's really, really insecure. And so you're starting to see the actions of North Korea respond to the president's prodding by saying, boo, maybe we should tone down the rhetoric instead of, saying threatening thing after threatening thing to an American president that's willing to just threaten us back and actually potentially act on it. Maybe we should reach across the South and start making all these gestures towards peace and denuclearization. So I think Trump does deserve some credit, whether he means to or not, although I know he'll take lots of credit for it, right? Now, I do want to say that although I really like to be optimistic, I don't see how anything North Korea is saying makes sense for North Korea. The only thing North Korea has to gain here is not being bombed or invaded. That's the only thing they have to gain, which is a big thing, but that, That's probably not going to happen. The United States is probably not going to, even with Trump and any particular trigger fingers he may have, it just doesn't make sense for us to attack North Korea if they have the ability to kill millions and millions of people in retaliation, even as they're going down in a blaze of glory. North Korea, by opening up to the rest of the world, they're not really going to open up travel to North Korea, and more importantly out of North Korea, because that would give their citizens ideas from foreigners, which would make them come home and create unrest within their country. In addition to that, any pledge from the United States in 2018 that we will not invade is not a forever guarantee. We could just change our mind in the future if we feel like we got a pretty good shot at them, especially if they denuclearize. It gets a lot easier at that point. So, denuclearization, if the totalitarian regime in North Korea is committed to anything, it's committed to keeping power and keeping complete control of North Korea, and allowing travel in and out of North Korea, and denuclearizing, and even putting away the war rhetoric only serves to hurt those purposes. So at the end of the day, I do suspect what we're seeing is just, more of the same from North Korea. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't at least invite the opportunity to talk,